Welcome, class, to our final week with American national government. I'm so happy that all of you have made it this far. It's been a pleasure, certainly, for me to be able to learn with you as well as to advise you and give you some of my insight to some of the topics we've discussed this course. We have a lot of things just to cover in this last week, so let's keep the momentum going all the way through the end. This week's discussions that we have one on the political parties. If you read through our assignments, you'll have to discuss three political parties on one particular subject. So you will discuss the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and one of your choice. So take a look at our assignment. Specifically in our weekly guidance, there's a nice table that lays out kind of the ideas that you need to outline before you start your initial discussion. It'll help you organize your thoughts and create a nice cohesive initial post, including the authorities that you'll need, as always, to support your premises. The second topic that we'll be discussing is regarding voting rights. And to that end, I selected a radio broadcast from NPR.org regarding the Voting Rights Act, and specifically some legislation that's being introduced by Congress to address something that the U.S. Supreme Court struck down last year regarding the Voting Rights Act. And for a summary, last year the U.S. Supreme Court struck down as unconstitutional a portion of the Voting Rights Act that required 15 states of our 50 states that needed to have what's called pre-clearance with federal officials if they wanted to do certain things like change a polling place or redrawing a district. Those 15 states needed to get pre-clearance from the federal government before they made those changes. And because the Voting Rights Act from 1965 relied on 1960s outdated data, basically, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down that portion of the Voting Rights Act. Now, this new legislation that's being proposed has a new coverage formula, they call it, and will essentially only affect 4 states out of our union of 50 states, and various ways in which that legislation will address it. So this radio interview earlier last month of this year, two people discussed the pros and cons of this new legislation, and will give you kind of some insight onto some new developments regarding not only the Voting Rights Act, but congressional reaction to what the U.S. Supreme Court did last year. So this will give you kind of a nice blend of what we discussed in the first week of this course, the separation of powers, the checks and balances, and specifically you'll see how this radio broadcast ties together the checks of the Congress over the U.S. Supreme Court. So when you listen to that, listen for that specifically, and take note of a few things that I think are good takeaways from this interview. Are again the pros and cons analysis of this proposed legislation, and also take a look at how it tries to address alleged discrimination, which harkens back to this second discussion for this final week of our course. This radio broadcast also discusses some issues of fraud and how this legislation tries to address that. Well, with that, you'll be looking at we'll be gearing toward our final papers that are going to be due on Monday this coming week. Hopefully by this time you've already identified your main primary authorities, and you've also hopefully done an outline how you're addressing the grading rubric, scoring prompts that are available in my class. This week I hope that you take time to take a look at the grading rubric. Make sure that your outline and your final paper addresses each of the question prompts. At this stage in the game, if you don't provide a coherent response to any of the question prompts and provide supporting authorities, you know by now that that's going to really hurt your grade, and I really want all of you to maximize your scores on this final paper, which also accounts for a very large portion of your grade. with that, I'll be available all week. I check my email every day and gets back to you hopefully the next day after you send me an email. I wish you the best of luck on your final papers. It's been a very great, my esteemed pleasure learning from you and also guiding you through this course. I'll see you in discussion. Thanks.